Sounds nice.
I look forward to the day when the measurement for success is I stayed home and I raised my family. I s- like spending time with your family is something that people look forward to, in the same way they look forward to a big vacation or that big house
Mm.
or that expensive car. Me spending the week, spending a month with my family and not working, just spending the month doing family things.
I think a few generations ago that was a thing, but now it's like if you say that, it's okay. So you're just lazy.
Yeah, because people consider it lazy, which is which is backwards. So you would rather work 40 to 80 hours a week just so you can buy your kids some Jordans or pay some expensive daycare or buy that expensive house that you're now barely going to use in most of the rooms, instead of using the same money to take a whole month off and just raise your children. I think that should be the goal.
A month to raise your children. I think you need more than a month
Well, I
to,
mean,
or
compared
just
to
create a
getting
lifestyle where you're around more,
right, that's what I'm saying. But
where you're at home.
compared to getting 2 days out of the week off, you know what I mean? Because right now that's all people go do. That's what the 9 to 5 culture is. Just you get a Saturday and Sunday off, and maybe 2 weeks out of the year, but that's
And you outsource the raising of your children. So you send them off to another institution. They'll do the work for you. And the thing is that it, they wanted it like that so that all the kids are kind of getting the same information. They're getting, you know, no one's unique
yeah.
in that way. We can train them all, get them all on the same page. You have to work, you have to go to college. The kids that don't go to college are going to get a minimum wage job. It's fine. But like, it's like they want to get all the kids together and make sure that they're fully brainwashed, and so they spend most of the time with them throughout the day, and then you get to go home and see your parents for a couple hours before you go to sleep, and you come back here where you live,
Where you're
basically.
actually trained.
Where you're actually trained, or we're actually feeding you content. So that's, I think, the purpose of the
Or
school
even
system.
when you
That's
go
what
home,
the institution is.
or when you go home, your parents are too tired to even train you, so
And
you
they
have
did
you
it
have
that
to
way
go
on
back to social
purpose.
media to get your information.
It's not seen as a good thing for any member of the household to be at home all day or to be like a housewife. That hasn't been a good thing until or since a few generations ago. So now it's like, you are just some gold digger, aren't you? A housewife, really? So you don't want to do anything for the world? You you're lazy, you don't want to get a job, and you want some man to take care of you, just so you can sit around, watch TV, and raise his children. That's what it seems like. So you're lower than dirt, and when that's who you are.
Yeah, we've got it backwards. The primary goal of every family, of individuals, is to actually contribute back to society. And you do that by raising uh, hardworking, productive members of society. And you can't do that when you're at work all day long and you're outsourcing your responsibilities.
Well, because they don't need like thinkers, and I think we've seen a video about this before. The A few generations ago, the Carnegies and the Rockefellers, they did not. They I think there's a quote by not Carnegie, not Rockefeller, the other one,
Vanderbilt?
Vanderbilt. I think it was Vanderbilt who said this, and he's like, I don't want a nation of thinkers.
Yeah.
We need a nation of workers. So the whole point of, and those three have Um, they've actually created the standards for educational institutions in the United States. I know we don't really know this, but or it's not common knowledge, but yeah, they started it, the whole standardization
Yeah.
of schools and making them actual institutions. And it started out with like the orphanages and
Oh, yeah.
taking
Speak on those orphanages again, because
taking
a lot of cities,
children. Yeah.
a lot of cities at over the years, starting back in the 18th century or 19th century, had these orphanages, which where children were
How are there so many
raised.
orphans?
Right.
There weren't actually. There are a couple theories on how there were so many children that were put into these boarding schools or orphanages where they would, of course, brainwash you and train you to be the next generation that fills up that city and gets it running, pretty much. And so, this first idea might be kind of out there, but in the past, supposedly a few hundred years ago, or even before, I know the ancients worked on this as well, is like cloning and artificial insemination and just creating hybrid people and different types of people and messing with our genes and things like that. So there are theories, there are ideas out there that this may have been conducted, and it may have started, or it may have been going on in France, where because they did have these what's it, they called it baby farms, I think, and so they were growing babies because somehow they had tons of preemie babies that were 6 months or younger that they were showing off in these like incubators, and this was in like the 1800s in France, and like wealthy couples would come and it would be sort of like a show, kind of a thing where they're like, ooh, look, this is really cool what they're doing with all this new technology. And then of course you can have an opportunity to purchase a baby if you want. So that was a thing. And so there's this idea that a lot of those babies were also sent to different parts of the world, especially like in the United States, because of course they were white babies, right? Mostly white babies. And so they may have been, if they didn't get adopted, I guess they were shipped into other orphanages to for this repopulation plan. They wanted to wipe out other races, and they wanted to bring in new people who they can start from scratch. They can brainwash them, they can train them into becoming who, workers, to get them to think a certain way. They don't have a past, so they don't have all this heritage or anything to hold on to be taught or anything like that. So, it's perfect. They don't have parents that will teach them about their ancestors. They don't have a culture. They don't have nothing like that. They're just a blank slate, and you can just put whatever you want in them. And so they did. And the idea is they brought a ton of they started a ton of fresh people from scratch like that, and they grew up in these boarding schools, orphanages, and then they became, adults that worked in like the mines and factories and places like that, and populated America.
But it seems like much of that didn't change. What they just evolved. I mean, in terms of uh,
Hmm.
growing people and
Well, there
raising.
are other ideas that. So also with these orphan trains, another thing that they did was they also, I know, and there's evidence of this, they would, that's like what the whole Trail of Tears was. The whole purpose of that was to pretty much kill off the older generation, let them die, disease. They would torture them and hopefully let them die along this trail and completely get rid of their heritage so that they can take the kids and send them on these orphan trains over to boarding schools. So there were actually a lot of boarding schools for natives, just native kids, so that they can completely lose every sense of their heritage, their culture, their religion, who they are, and they can learn how to be white people and Christians and culture, and they could be workers and fill the United States in that respect. And they did that with just anyone who, pretty much everyone. If they couldn't wipe you out, then at least they could wipe out your parents, your grandparents, and they could take the kids and turn them into who they want them to be.
Worker bees.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward that to the present day, it seems like our school system have maintained that business model
Yeah.
where these school systems are not actually there to raise your kids into entrepreneurs or critical thinkers. They're designed to make them employees of these big corporations.
Yeah.
And once if you go through that track, if you're one of the, the high achievers that stick to the script and you make it through school and you start your career and you stay in that corporation, essentially you you become a lot of times you actually lose uh, control of your family. You actually your identity is completely tied to that company.
That's what they want.
And
It's seen as like a really good thing. People like that are more praised,
right
don't you
in
think?
society, there's this idea that, oh, I
And
gotta go to work.
you're a
That's
workaholic
that's
and
a
you put
badge
your,
of honor. I'm
yeah.
going to work. When is that okay
The good people are praised for
to
their
be
work
a
ethic.
badge of honor to have this work ethic, not raising your family, not making time out to spend. It should be a thing where, okay, you've worked, you've achieved a lot, take 6 months to go raise your family. That should be a thing
Or why not create a lifestyle
around
where
family.
your family is the most important and that's priority, and then work is secondary.
Right.
Your career and what, or, I mean, if you look at the ancients or even these major corporations, that's what they do, really. Their family, they're not training their kids to go to these institutions and then go work for somebody.
Oh, you mean the elites, right?
Yeah, the elites. Um, no, their kids are, everyone is in the family. The parents are in the family, the kids, the grandparents, everyone who is related to you. You're all living this lifestyle where work and play and leisure and education and family time, it's
All
all
one thing.
together.
Yeah.
It's all one thing.
Right.
So
Right.
you guys are working and earning money together. Everyone has their own rules or however this works, but you're also not putting, you're not, like work isn't the only thing, and you don't have to separate that and spend all of your time over there with work, and then just a tiny little bit of time with your family.
So the family is not compromised.
It's not compromised. In fact, those relations are really strong, I think. You know, some of them, some of the people do say that a lot of these elites are like the main guys who built everything from the ground up were terrible people and they were just awful. Yeah, they probably were. Because I do think they probably had maybe psychopathic tendencies or something. Um, but besides the point, they kept the families together. So whether everyone is fighting or getting along or whatever, the lifestyle was everyone's together, we all play our role, we grow, we get more, and we enjoy what we've built at the same time. So they taught them differently.
So, do you see a future where people actually prioritize family? Because AI is a thing, and a lot of people are not aware of it. But if you're paying attention, you see that artificial intelligence is slowly creeping into society, and I think that it's going to improve production and make life more efficient for human beings, for the ones who take advantage of it. And now, for the ones who do not take advantage of it, they're going to lose access and just be relegated to be there's going to be a need for universal basic income. That's a whole different topic on its own. But if there is universal basic income and people are not required to uh, trade their time for money, and they're allowed to, you now have more time to pursue your own interests. Do you think that there's going to be more people are going to move in the direction of spending more time with family? Is society going to improve?
I think yes, but also no. I don't know if that's going to get around to everyone, and if it, I mean, if you're talking about everyone, and just we all turn completely 180 and we're all focused on family and our priorities are totally different, like every individual, probably not. And if that's going to happen, it's going to be really, really, really far down
It's
the
going to be a
road.
long time from there.
But I do think that, like what you said with AI and how in the future or in the near future, it's coming, and those who are taking advantage of it and learning about this and um, finding ways to incorporate this in their business so that they don't have to have so much labor and doing things like that. I do think that it's going to change the playing fields a little bit. I think that maybe a lot of entrepreneurs and some middle class who are part of that, who keep up and have started utilizing all these tools, that they're gonna be the ones, because I think we are coming to a shift. So I think that they are gonna be the ones to take advantage, and they're gonna ride that thing up, just like how the elites of the past, like Vanderbilt and Rockefeller and all that. That was like the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, when they were just barely they were taking advantage of some needs that started to show up when society started growing, right?
Yeah, they capitalize
Oil
on
and
energy.
transportation
Yeah,
and things like that, which is
they made
was
money from energy
exactly, and it was so
and
needed.
transportation.
Now today, what do we like commerce? What is it like? Crypto, things like that.
Well,
Entertainment content.
well, the financial system is aging. The traditional
Right.
financial system is aging, and it needs to improve. So now enter cryptocurrency and decentralized finance. People, a lot of these corporations that are paying attention are going to capitalize on it to profit from finance. But the juice there,
Mm-hmm.
it's the fact that it's going to provide a lot of people, more people financial freedom that didn't have access to it. So when you have financial freedom, it allows you more time to be able to spend with your family and raise your children.
Right.
I even see a situation where a lot of these corporations won't need to hire as many people as they're currently hiring people. You're gonna recently with Elon Musk purchasing Twitter. Prior to him owning Twitter, Twitter had, I don't know, maybe like 7,000 employees or some crazy number like that.
Yeah.
And when he took over, he laid off a bunch of people. Now I think it's down to 2,000 people, or even less
Stop.
than
Are you
that. And
serious?
it's even more productive now than it was before. So you're starting to see a lot of the companies like recently Amazon announced a bunch of layoffs, Google, but announced, so a lot of these companies that thought that a lot of the employees thought that, oh, they're set,
Mm-hmm.
especially the middle managers, they're getting laid off. They're losing their jobs, and these are middle managers because they're starting to find out that um, people, when you have these middle managers that are allowed to hire more people, and then they stop working because when you hire people, you've delegated your duties,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're just walking around being a boss. And that's where you have these bloating of
Yeah, you get a
administration,
lot of
and you see
bottlenecks.
it everywhere, whether it's in the education
Yeah.
system or in the finance system, everywhere where there's just too many people there. Enter artificial intelligence, there's no need to have that many people because artificial intelligence and just technology in general
Mm-hmm.
is making it easier to get the job done with less people. So now, what are these people who don't have any work anymore? What are they going to do? That's where universal basic income comes in. So if we now have this freedom, which I anticipate in the next within our lifetime, I think within the next 2 decades, we're going to have more time to ourselves. I expect that more people will prioritize family, just like we do. I value.
Like,
she's not having to go to work, you know, or at least making it such that work is raising family,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
Work is raising family. That's good. Yeah, and that's never seen as work, but it's work. That's what the housewives of the last couple generations have been saying.
That was
It's
the pride.
work.
Yeah,
I'm doing a lot of work.
it
You
is a
guys
lot of
don't
work.
give me credit for doing so much work. Fine, I'll go get a job. Then I'll get credit for doing work.
Can you imagine if there was an Oscar Academy Awards for mothers or wives?
For all the,
The
especially,
best
maybe
mother.
not so much during the, in the current generations, but even now, there are plenty who still are like that, but
Like what?
it's a lot less.
There should.
Women who, yeah, who stay home and they're moms and they run the house and doing things like that. There's a lot less of that going on in the last couple of generations.
No, they're not doing it. They're
But
delegating their duties
yeah,
especially within the past 30 to 40 years, well, when women enter the workforce, if the, children are being raised by daycares.
but if
So,
you suddenly started, yeah, recognizing women who do that and acting like, if the world accepted that that was a good thing, that was an honorable thing to do,
right, and paid well for it.
if the government actually paid for it, like based on how many kids you have or something, then yeah. And it didn't matter what income level you had. Like if you're just gonna be a mom, be a good mom. That's it. That's all we need from you.
And there's an award for it. So
And
it's incentivized.
yes, because then if you're getting free money just to be a good mom, that that's insane. I know we can't really
And let me
fathom
correct
that
something.
yet.
Let me correct something. I don't want it to just focus on mother. I'm talking about the two-parent home. Father,
Yeah, that's
mother,
true.
child. There should be incentivization for people to stay together, for families to stay together.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, within the past 2 decades, there's been this single motherhood thing where everyone wants to be a single mother, and
Oh,
the
that's true.
fathers will run out of the home. I think that two-parent homes should be incentivized. Obviously, people are going to push back and say, well, who's going to be working? Where's the money going to come from? tech Technology is going to get to a point where productivity is going to improve and there's going to be more money being generated into the system. So this idea that there's no money, that's a lie, because we find money to fund wars, we find money to do things that most of us don't benefit from. These are our taxpayer dollars.
So
So
what are you saying that like there should be a world where we don't actually have to do much work? Like like the father and the mother, and like all you really have to do is just be at home and be as
no,
like
no,
we get to focus like on ourselves and on the child and
yes, but I'm going to rephrase it. Instead of saying it not much work, it's going to be um, a, a thing of pride to raise a good family. And there's going to be benchmarks to the family, the best family of the year, the best family of the month, even down to your local communities, where there are these awards of this family met this benchmark,
what are the
and they're
benchmarks
rewarded.
that you think would be
They raised kids that have good social scores, or they're
so there
contributing
would
back
still
to
be like a testing
community.
system, or do you think it would be
Yeah,
more of a social thing where everyone just should focus on community, even as a family we should all just get involved in the community and we
yeah.
all hang out with everyone, we
Just like
get together as we cook for them and then we all take care
you
of each
clean up your
other.
environment, you get
Okay.
involved civically. Now, just like when you are employed, if you're an employee, there are benchmarks that you have to meet, or you're not gonna get promoted, or you might even lose your job. The same rules would apply in that system, where that rewards good, thriving families.
Okay.
And I think that, and it's not just
And the
awards, but
thriving families would not be based on how much income you made,
no,
but it would be based on like what good they're doing for the whole community.
Yeah, how well your kids are, and how good you as parents are, what your whole family is doing to contribute. I haven't fleshed this idea out completely, but I
Because
think
it's
that
so new. It's
it's
like,
a new
what the
idea.
heck is he
But
saying? Forget this. We have to go to work.
it should not just be
Yeah,
okay to just
this
go
is
to
too
work.
stressful just thinking about all this extra community stuff we have to do. We have things to do. Got
Nah,
bills to pay.
one soon, really soon, as we speak, that's not going to be necessary anymore. We're talking about recently, Mark Zuckerberg doubled down on his idea for the metaverse,
Hmm.
where he thinks that we're going to be working in the metaverse, we're going to be going to the doctor in the metaverse, we're going to be going to school in the metaverse. He has pumped billions of dollars into making that a reality. So, in that kind of world, some of these jobs that we're taking pride in today, oh, I'm a nurse, oh, I'm a doctor, I'm a this, I'm a that, some of those jobs are going to be eliminated. And I'm even talking about what we consider the high end jobs. Can you imagine some of the low end jobs, the clerical stuff, the accounting, the some of this stuff that people have spent so many years in and they take pride in, they find their identity in it. Those jobs are going to go away because tech is going to take them away. So if those jobs are taken away, now what? What are you going to do with your time? I think that we should incentivize families. This is where the government steps in, or people, because the government, people are government. We all vote for a system that recognizes and rewards family time.
Hmm.
But to be continued. Any final words?
Um, well, we wanted to get into this conversation about what would be the best thing to do with your children and how they're just, I don't know, turning into machines when you send them to school, conventional institutions like that.
All right.
Um, so, what kind of, how do we want Amara to grow up? Or how do we, I mean, if we're raising, what type of human being is she going to become? How is she going to fit in the world if we're not going to try to get her to be a worker bee? Can you imagine a
She's,
world?
I think it's this world that I'm describing. Now, let's not forget, it's only a little over a year. So
Yeah.
there's, even within the next 10 years, we're going to be in a whole different world than we're in today. Some of these ideas that I'm talking about might become mainstream within the next 10 years, within the next 20 years.
Okay.
And that's when she's going to become an adult. And she's going to be in that world where it's not a thing of pride to go to work and put in 30 years so that you can buy a house and buy a car and then retire and to a pension plan. That's going to be a relic.
Hmm.
We don't have the answers, but we're going to keep an open mind and, move, learn and grow with the times. That's our hope.
Okay. I hear you.